2 Grand Slam titles at the French Open on the clay and at Wimbledon earlier this summer. He enters as the favorite.
You have a bunch of depth there. Francis Tiafoe, Ben Shelton. They will likely play in round 3. The winner would play Djokovic, most likely, which would be an incredible match. I like Ben Shelton as a sleeper. If Djokovic is hurt, you never know. I think Shelton could actually be the guy that gets hot. The conditions favor him.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Hey, let's say it comes down for Matt Kuchar in the FedEx Cup ball. Let's say he doesn't make a cut, and it comes down to one shot. And
that's a good point.
And he keeps his card for the top 125 because he did make the jump from, I think it was 113 to 103. So he made a 10-spot jump. So he's got, 17, or let's see, that was not good math. He's got about 20.
Not a bad one. The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
We're into a different regime, different ownership, different head coach. I like the head coach. Dan Quinn is a good football man. He has been around where he's been. They have won. Yes, he's had some talent there.
I'm incredibly excited for what this brings to the team. The defense, I think, is underrated. I think this is a good football team. And also, you talk about extending drives. I think Daniels has that ability. And that's something that hasn't been seen in Washington for quite some time.
Fantasy sports today, only on SportsGrid.
Let's go.
Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship.
The golf has been mesmerizing.
They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go!
That's what champions do.
Hour number 3, our third and final live right here on the early line on SportsGrid and all across the Spiz Grizz network. He is Donnie right side. I am Ben Stevens. A third and final hour here on TEL to set the stage for the opening night of week number 1 of this college football season in 2024. 21 FBS college football games on this Thursday evening. 21 starting in Piscataway at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, all the way out to San Jose in the debut of the Ken Niumatalolo era for the Spartans at 10 p.m. Eastern. I am so excited I could cry tears of legitimate joy for all of the college football that we have in our lives tonight. And we will talk so much college football in this third and final hour. We'll get the prop perspective from Tom Vecchio a little bit later on. Some Major League Baseball conversations with Craig Mish and some MLB breakdowns from Donnie right side in this third and final hour as well. Donnie, this is why we do what we do. As Joe Lisi always says, this is what it's all about. And we feel that here on a Thursday.
I thought Joe Lisi always said, stop, every time I send him a text about a question I have when I try to, break his stones a little bit. So that's usually what I hear out of Joe Lisi. But also, you haven't told us any stories from going to the U.S. Open yesterday. Did we have any beverages? I know there's a nice – by the way, there's a nice-looking signature cocktail out there making its rounds at the U.S. Open that back in my day, which means last year, I might have partaken in some of those. Did you try anything out there?
Hold on a second. You had a honeydews last year?
No, I said I would have. I would have loved it. That's what I'm saying. I haven't had a drink since August of last year. So last year, I might have partaken and had a couple of those bad boys. They look tasty.
They are incredibly tasty. It's college football season. Working the weekend on Saturday. We have some college football and football scheduling updates to bring you tomorrow. But anyway, so I'm looking. They know the family well. Anyway, I digress. We're monitoring ticket prices all day. I had heard that if you just track ticket prices throughout the day, they start to go down as you get closer and closer to the evening session. Opposite yesterday. They skyrocketed. Novak Djokovic was playing at Arthur Ashe. Coco Gauff was playing at Arthur Ashe. They were going up like crazy. Missed good numbers the entirety of the day. So Chloe and I ultimately decide, all right, let's take the subway up to Flushing. we'll go. We'll try to figure it out. Hopefully we'll update and the tickets will drop and all that stuff. We get there, the opposite. Limited quantity, again, skyrocketing through the roof. We decide to do the old-fashioned thing. Let's walk to the box office. Let's see if we can talk our way into some tickets. We skipped the entirety of the general admission line, which was a zoo yesterday on a warm Wednesday night up in Queens. We go up to the box office. We talk to a very kind man who goes, yeah, I can get you guys general admissions tickets for $25. Like $25? The cheapest ticket we saw right before we entered the grounds was $210. What do you mean $25? Can we get into Louis Armstrong? He's like, yeah, the only thing you can't do is go to Arthur Ashe, but you can go GA at Louis. We're like, sign us up. We thought we were going to have to spend $250 for a ticket. We show up to Flushing to the United States Open without a ticket in our mobile phones or in our pockets. We did the old-fashioned thing. We went to the ticket window, and we got a great deal. What a night it was up in Queens.
Look, man, you should have just made one phone call. There's a family in Queens that has connections to all of these places at discount prices whenever you want it. I'm kind of disappointed you didn't look that avenue, but we can't release the details on that, the first family of Queens at this point, but the people out there know the deal.
Yeah, they certainly do. And if you ever see him in Queens, that being old K-Dubs, you will hear that first accent of Queens as well. It's really good stuff. All right, DRS, let's talk some college football here in the best game of this Week 1 Thursday night slate. It is Colorado against North Dakota State. The Bison, an FCS powerhouse, 6 national championships in the last decade in FCS college football. It is year number 2 of the prime era for Deion Sanders and CU. Will year 2 lead to year 3 and 4 and 5? What exactly is the outlook in Boulder? It was the question we had to ask all of you in Fade the Public. It's an interesting conversation to be had at SportsGrid on Twitter. Will Deion Sanders be Colorado's head coach beyond this season? There's a couple of reasons you could ask this. Deion Sanders, a program builder perhaps, looking for a better job at the FBS level. Maybe things go south and he's not ready for this kind of power conference performance at CU after a 4-8 season. Could he be let go? I doubt that. Or maybe the third wrinkle to this, his kids, Shedeur Sanders, Shiloh Sanders, and his adopted son, in quotes, but the guy that he loves, Travis Hunter, going to the National Football League next season. Does Deion want to stick around? So it was the question. Will Deion Sanders be CU's head man beyond this season in 2025 and beyond? Yes or no? Most of the public, Donnie, more than 63% of the votes saying no. This is it. 2024 is his second and final year at Colorado.
Yeah, this is an interesting one overall because when you try to line up Deion Sanders and what his future was supposed to be at Colorado, I believe he thought he was going to catch, Ben, lightning in a bottle, which means having an okay season first year, son returns as a top 5 pick in the NFL draft, leads him to a bowl game or beyond, and other college coaching spots come calling at some bigger programs. But now you're finding himself into almost survival mode at this point. And also, when his son does leave at the end of the year as a quarterback, if you didn't win 6 games, there's no appeal for Deion Sanders to move on to another institution. Now, I actually voted no here because I do believe that maybe he just could get burned out and say, you know what, 2 years, went to coach my son's major Division I college. And as a father, I put my sons into the NFL. That was the goal. I got plenty of money. I'm going to go back into the booth, make similar money here, and not nearly work as hard or take any grief from the press who are giving him some grief up there in Colorado. So I did vote no, but I thought in a perfect world, he probably saw that. I'll be there 2 years. I'll parlay that into the Auburn job or the Alabama job or the Florida State job, something like that. And I don't think that's right now going to happen. He needs a big-time season this year just to stay at Colorado for his own liking, in my idea, Ben.
Our producer, Joe Frieso, saying maybe he makes the leap to the National Football League after Mike McCarthy, who is the final year of his contract in 2024, leaves the star, and Deion Sanders, once playing for the Cowboys, now coaches the boys. We shall see. I also voted no, but for a couple of reasons. One, his personal ties to his kids, and he has been very vocal about what their plans are for the future and how it intersects with Colorado's plans for 2024 and beyond. But whether you call it just made-up narratives or whatever you want to say, it's the reality. Deion Sanders does not recruit. He has not been to an in-house recruiting visit outside of Boulder the entirety of his time as the head coach of the Buffs. Does he have other staff and administrators to do that for him? Sure, but he does not recruit at the collegiate level. He builds his team in a professional manner, utilizing the transfer portal. I do not believe that is a sustainable model. Even in this new era of the sport, you still need to develop and you still need to recruit at the high school level. I'm not entirely sure what Deion Sanders wants out of his time at CU, and I wonder what success truly looks like, because you would think bowl eligibility for a team that won 4 games last year and a single victory in 2022 would be growth, but who knows what this year has in store for CU. More on the early line next.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Carlos Alcaraz has won the last 2 Grand Slam titles at the French Open on the clay and at Wimbledon earlier this summer. He enters as the favorite.
You have a bunch of depth there. Francis Tiafoe, Ben Shelton. They will likely play in round 3. The winner would play Djokovic, most likely, which would be an incredible match. I like Ben Shelton as a sleeper. If Djokovic is hurt, you never know. I think Shelton's actually the guy that gets hot. The conditions favor him.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
When you're really, really amazing like this, people kind of take it for granted. Same with Ohtani, right? People will sort of see, oh, Ohtani did this, Ohtani did that, and it sort of, becomes normalized a little bit. But to put in context, Aaron Judge joins the 1,000 hit club, reaches, gets it done. So earlier this month, he was the fastest player to reach 300 home runs ever.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
The leftover language would be the million shy of what Jefferson makes Jefferson a better player. If you want to believe that, I'm not sure I buy that he's that much better than CeeDee Lamb.
Tony Pollard's gone. He's now with the Titans. I was with the Titans a couple weeks ago. He'll be their starting running back there. They're going a different direction in Dallas, but it's all about CeeDee Lamb right now, the first of the other deals that they have to get done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Major League Baseball, front and center, just a few more days left in August with September on the horizon this weekend, the last month of this long MLB season. And the marathon that is 162 regular season games. To set the stage for all of that, our MLB insider, the host of Newswire, which starts each and every weekday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, Craig Mish, joins us here on this Thursday on the early line. Craig, as always, we thank you for your time.
Of course. Oh, you're lying to everybody. MLB front and center, Ben? Come on. We know what's going on tonight. We know what's going on this weekend.
Segment. Yeah. Craig, I don't make the plans.
Gators and Canes,
we want to start
Saturday.
calling this Daily Gridiron, and we get your take on Florida. That's good by me.
I'm just saying. Yeah.
Talk to your bosses. Talk to your bosses. We can figure something out.
Talk to me, Craig.
There's no doubt about it.
Talk to me. Go ahead, Craig. You can talk.
Talk to Donnie. We're doing hoagie reviews, if that's the case.
Yeah. Listen, if it was up to Donnie, we would be slandering people's good names like Rob Thompson for sending out Taijuan Walker last night, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So, as we still focus on MLB, even if it's not quite front and center for the entirety of the sports landscape this weekend or even on this Thursday. We touch them all in the daily basis. Craig, last night in the Twin Cities, the sweep complete for the Atlanta Braves. They take all three against Minnesota. First two games, a ton of offense. Yesterday, they turned to Chris Sale. 15 wins this year, tied for the most in the bigs. Alongside Tarek Skubal, lowers the ERA to a 2.58 number. That's the best in MLB. He is running away with the National League Cy Young Award in Atlanta. Wins all three games in Minneapolis. Craig, a Braves team that has dealt with a litany of injuries this year. But is Atlanta starting to figure things out entering the final month of this regular season?
They're hanging in there. The National League Manager of the Year market is very interesting at this point, too, because if Atlanta was to get Ben in the 90-some-odd win mark, you could really make the case that this may be Brian Snitker's best job as manager of the Atlanta Braves. They've lost players like no other team in the big leagues. Now, yes, they're getting incredible performances out of their pitching staff. Schwellenbach, who they called up, all of a sudden, he's a big player on that team. We know Chris Sale's had a great year. And then on top of it, I think the biggest surprise of all is the player who has carried, and let me say, has carried the Atlanta Braves offensively, Marcell Ozuna, in and out every single night. It's just not a stunner to me to see him hit 30, 40 home runs. But the batting average is up. A couple of years, he's going to be a free agent again. So you give credit to Atlanta for hanging in there. I mean, I don't think they're going deep into the postseason with all the losses that they've had, but you can't put anything past them right now.
Well, 4 games coming up against the Philadelphia Phillies in Philadelphia could help determine who wins the NL East. But if we are taking a look here at some of the odds markets to win the Cy Young in the NL and also the Rookie of the Year, it's Chris Sale now as a decided favorite here. Minus 650 price at the FanDuel Sportsbook, followed by Wheeler and Hunter Green. If we're looking at the National League Rookie of the Year markets here, it's Jackson Merrill at a minus 280 price, followed by Paul Skeens at a 2-1 price. Looks like the Cy Young Award is basically wrapped up in Sale's favor. But that Merrill Skeens, intrigue down the stretch could just be Merrill's playing good baseball and will continue to play good baseball. And Skeens, maybe he doesn't even finish the season because the Pittsburgh Pirates hang it up for him.
Yeah, they're really not talking a lot about this at this point because we're still at the stage of the season, Donnie, where tickets are still sold in Pittsburgh. So,
True.
It's kind of hard right now at the end of August to say the last 2 weeks of the season you're not going to see Skeens pitch. The other thing that's really hurt him, I know it doesn't really matter in terms of metrics or stats or the way that people vote, but it is kind of crushing to see him go deep into these games and then the bullpen completely gives it up. And so I don't think that's helping his case at all. But again, it is still open. That race is still open. If for some reason Skeens was to go toe-to-toe at the end of the season and Merrill was to slump over the next few weeks, these odds would get tighter. As far as Wheeler goes, I do think at this point it is open and shut. The funny thing to me is to see how deep the odds are for the third pitcher on that board was, with Hunter Green being 55-1 and not pitching. So it just kind of tells you here at this point who is going to win the Cy Young. Yeah, it's going to be Sale in the end.
The Buccos were 2 games above 500 at the end of July, still in the National League wild card chase. They are now just 7-18 in the month of August. And yesterday I thought represented what Skeens' outlook is for the final few weeks of this MLB season. 5 innings of work, only 82 pitches. Left the game when Pittsburgh had an 8-3 lead. And then, of course, the Cubbies rallied, scoring 11 unanswered in the final 3 innings to win 14-10 over Pittsburgh. Craig, the American League Central has also seen its race for the divisional top spot heat up. The Guardians avoid a 4-game sweep against Kansas City yesterday at home, rallying in the 7th against KC. But the Royals and the Guardians entered yesterday tied for the top spot in the AL Central. When all is said and done, at the end of September into October, who wins this division?
Yeah, I think it's going to be the Royals. I do. I feel like the Royals are playing the best baseball. It doesn't really matter what happened in April and May anymore. It happens what matters now. Twins clearly getting swept, losing 3 home games. That's going to come back to sting them in the end. I'm not going to discount Cleveland at all. They have the best player on that board in Jose Ramirez. So if one player can carry a team, it's going to be him. But I probably would say that the Royals, who made all those offseason moves that people looked at and said, Seth Lugo, what is that all about? What are you doing? It's worked out for them. They've gotten good offensive performances too. Michael Massey's been a nice surprise for them. So, yeah, I'll probably say that, by the way, this is going down to the last day of the season, I think. But I think it'll be the Royals in the end. It'll be fun.
Rubber match, some baseball today out in the desert in Phoenix. Yesterday, another blown save from Edwin Diaz, who has struggled this year for the Mets. Corbin Carroll, a grand salami in the home half of the eighth for Arizona to rally. So it's the rubber match between the D-backs and the Mets. Arizona, a slight favorite. Both of these teams, Greg, thick in the National League wildcard chase, but the Mets on the outside looking in, Arizona in the top spot. So does New York have much life left in that NL wildcard race?
They're alive. I mean, David Peterson has pitched really well. This is a very tough game to call. You saw the odds there, guys. I mean, this is the kind of game you check back in the fifth inning. If you see the Mets with a lead, you may go with the plus money the other way. I'll pass on this one, but it should be competitive.
Yeah. It should be, and a significant game today out in Phoenix between the D-backs and the Mets. Craig, we'll see you on Newswire in just about 40 minutes. More on the early line comes your way up next.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Carlos Alcaraz has won the last two Grand Slam titles at the French Open on the clay and at Wimbledon earlier this summer. He enters as the favorite.
You have a bunch of depth there. Francis Tiafoe, Ben Shelton. They will likely play in round three. The winner would play Djokovic, most likely, which would be an incredible match. I like Ben Shelton as a sleeper. If Djokovic is hurt, you never know. I think Shelton's actually the guy that gets hot. The conditions favor him.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
When you're really, really amazing like this, people kind of take it for granted. Same with Otani, right? People will sort of see, oh, Otani did this, Otani did that, and it sort of, becomes normalized a little bit. But to put in context, Aaron Judge joins the 1,000 hit club, gets it done. So earlier this month, he was the fastest player to reach 300 home runs ever.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
The leftover language would be the million shy of what Jefferson makes Jefferson a better player. If you want to believe that, I'm not sure I buy that he's that much better than CeeDee Lamb.
Tony Pollard's gone. He's now with the Titans. I was with the Titans a couple weeks ago. He'll be their starting running back there. They're going a different direction in Dallas, but it's all about CeeDee Lamb right now, the first of the other deals that they have to get done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
A very important four-game divisional set starts on this Thursday night at the Bank in Philadelphia between the Braves and the Phils. The final time these two clubs will meet up this year in the 2024 regular season. Philadelphia is a home favorite tonight at minus 154. The Phils unable to sweep the Stros yesterday. They got planked 10-0, but they did win the first two games of the series. They had won 9 of their last 13 before last night's loss to Houston. The Braves coming off a sweep in Minneapolis. They continue the road trip tonight in Philly. An important opener for a significant four-game set this weekend, DRS, in Philadelphia. What do you expect?
Yeah, you're taking a look at that price point, and I know a lot of people might be saying, like, that's really too high for the Philadelphia Phillies at this point. I do disagree. Now, granted, if you're betting the Phillies, would you like that price point lower? Yes, you would. But the plus 128, I don't think is viable for me tonight from an Atlanta Braves perspective. If we're looking from a pitcher-to-pitcher matchup, the Phillies do have the better pitcher on the mound tonight. Charlie Morton, just your average pitcher, aging veteran here, looking to eat up innings. He struggled all season long with right-handed batters. You get a plethora of them tonight from the Philadelphia Phillies, and also from an embarrassing performance yesterday, the Phillies will be locked in. And Christopher Sanchez has been a decent pitcher. Over the last 60 days, his ERA, Ben, is a little bit high, but his xFIP number is coming in certainly manageable around, let me just see that, 3.46. So that works out in his favor. I do think the Phillies are the better team tonight. And yes, it is hard to take a team fresh off of getting waxed by the Astros, but you have to remind yourselves they did win that series. And also, you take a look at Atlanta Braves team on the road, had a great series against the Minnesota Twins. Yeah. This is playoff atmosphere. This is playoff baseball. If you look at the 1 through 9, the Phillies have it better. The starting pitcher, the Phillies are better. As an overall team, they're better, and they're home tonight. They should be able to win this game. So yesterday would have been great if the Phillies won 10-0, but they didn't. I think they bounced back in a big way tonight and secure a victory in game number 1 of this 4-game set against the Atlanta Braves.
These two teams met last week in Atlanta. The Braves won 2 of 3 to take the set, including that series victory. The Braves have won 9 of their last 11. In fact, the Braves have played the Phillies 9 times this year. They've taken 6 of those 9. Now, it's still a substantial lead for Philadelphia in the National League East. A 5-game lead for the Phils, minus 1150 to win the division and National League East crown that Atlanta has claimed the last 6 years in a row in MLB. That not really in question unless things go haywire in this 4-game set. Atlanta playing good baseball, and despite not sweeping the Astros yesterday, Philadelphia 9-5 in their last 14. The rubber match tonight out in Los Angeles. It is late night in L.A. at the Ravine between the Dodgers and the Orioles. Baltimore won game number 1. L.A. responding last night 6-4. Some sloppy defense yesterday. 4 errors combined between the two clubs. 3 from the O's. The Dodgers a minus 154 favorite tonight. Total at 9. 2 young arms on the bump. Bobby Miller for L.A. Cade Povich for Baltimore.
Don't be afraid of that 9.5 tonight. I think we do get runs. You take a look at Cade Povich, 6 starts over the past 6 weeks here. 6 starts over the past 60 days, 27 innings pitched. So that means he's not going all that deep into these games, and rightfully so. In ERA over those 60 days, been close to 8, and an xFIP number at a paltry 6.11. We're expecting some runs there out of the Los Angeles Dodgers offense. Flip it over to the Baltimore Orioles. Bobby Miller has really struggled this year. 180 batters he's faced in total, Ben, a 250 ISO and a weighted on base percentage of 411 combined. If we just focus on his past month in Major League Baseball, 25 right-handed batters he's faced. How about a 417 ISO and a weighted on base percentage of 501? 2 very good lineups tonight against questionable pitchers. It is a pitcher's ballpark. We get it. It will be a playoff atmosphere with these two teams, but I do think they can get double-digit runs tonight, so I'll take the over on the 9.5.
The Dodgers have won 7 of their last 9. Again, the O's pretty mediocre since the break, and even 500, 19-19, just 12-13 in the month of August. They trail the Yankees by a full game for the top spot in the AL East. The Astros entered yesterday's series finale in Philly, having dropped 6 of their last 8. They avoid the sweep. Kansas City was looking for a 4-game sweep in the land. They lose the game. They were up 5-2 at the end of 6. Cleveland stormed back in the 7th. Minus 156, the number today in favor of the Stros in H-Town. Total of 8. 2 playoff teams in the American League. What do you like?
Yeah, just to keep this short, 17 pitchers on the card today that have rated. Guess who's 5 and number 6 on the card? That's these 2 pitchers tonight. That's Brown and Singer. Playoff atmosphere in Houston. That 8, I'm not so sure. We get to 9 runs here. I'll lean on the under in this spot.
I like that look, DRS. Hunter Brown on the bump, Brady Singer on the other side for KC. Some more prop perspective thoughts on this Thursday from SportsGrid. Tom Vecchio up next.
sharpest football contest show in the land. The Las Vegas Football Contest Show focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Carlos Alcaraz has won the last two Grand Slam titles at the French Open on the clay and at Wimbledon earlier this summer. He enters as the favorite.
You have a bunch of depth there. Francis Tiafoe, Ben Shelton. They will likely play in round 3. The winner would play Djokovic, most likely, which would be an incredible match. I like Ben Shelton as a sleeper. If Djokovic is hurt, you never know. I think Shelton could actually be the guy that gets hot. The conditions favor him.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
When you're really, really amazing like this, people kind of take it for granted. Same with Otani, right? People will sort of see, oh, Otani did this, Otani did that, and it sort of, becomes normalized a little bit. But to put in context, Aaron Judge joins the 1,000 hit club, gets it done. So earlier this month, he was the fastest player to reach 300 home runs ever.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
The leftover language would be the million shy of what Jefferson makes Jefferson a better player. If you want to believe that, I'm not sure I buy that he's that much better than CeeDee Lamb.
Tony Pollard's gone. He's now with the Titans. I was with the Titans a couple weeks ago. He'll be their starting running back there. They're going a different direction in Dallas, but it's all about CeeDee Lamb right now, the first of the other deals that they have to get done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid's Tom Vecchio. If you didn't know, look at the jacket and the monitor behind his head. He joins us here for a Thursday prop perspective on the early line all across the Spiz Grizz. He is Tom. Donnie's on the right side, and I am Ben. Plenty to get to here today with the jack of all trades. That is Vecchio, a season-long prop in the National Football League. 1 week out from the season debut in the NFL between the Chiefs and the Ravens. Some early thoughts on that game 7 days away. And, of course, it's another day in Major League Baseball. Vecchio, are you ready to do all of those things here on the early line?
Yeah, I'm certainly ready to go. Thanks for having me. We know that rosters have been cut down. We know what the final, or mostly what the final rosters will look like. Wrapping up some season-long props, baseball. Let's get to it.
So let's talk one of those season-long props to begin. Year number 2 for Derek Carr in the Big Easy as the starting quarterback for the Saints. Year number 1 wasn't necessarily successful offensively, but the pieces remain in NOLA. Tom, what is your expectation for Carr as the signal caller of the Saints this year?
Yeah, my expectations are pretty modest overall, and frankly, my favorite prop for him is going to be under 21.5 passing touchdowns. You know, we've seen some questionable decision-making and questionable outcomes from Derek Carr, but this is not just about him. This is about the offense overall. They have a bottom 10 offensive line, which is never good when we do have a quarterback that does, present some inconsistency. They do have a very favorable strength of schedule, which obviously pointing in the right direction, but regardless of the strength of schedule, the offense around him is extremely questionable. I think maybe one of the weakest in the league. Chris Olave is awesome. I am extremely high on him long-term. But outside of him, when it comes to the passing, their backfield with Kamara, Kendra Miller, Jamal Williams, I think is fine. But the receiving option that this was ultimately about, highly questionable. Rashid Shaheed, I think he could have a breakout year. But after him, A.T. Perry, Jawan Johnson, Taysom Hill, and Foster Moreau, we're not dealing with an amazing receiving core outside of Olave. So if the opposing defenses can shut down Olave, what's the passing expectation going to look like for Derek Carr? So that just leads me to under 21.5 passing touchdowns. I think Olave can be great on a week-to-week basis. I will certainly be interested in his touchdown props, but I don't expect Carr to have a massive year.
Yeah, and I agree with you that too, Tom, because you're taking a look from a perspective where if you come out of the game inside the 5-yard line a couple times here, that 3 to 4 touchdowns that Taysom Hill steals could be the difference between 21.5 touchdowns to the over or under. So I do like that look at it here. But we are 1 week away from the NFL getting started, and that's the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. 8:20 start. This line bouncing between 2.5s and 3s here. It probably will stay at that 3 level, I would assume, by next week. Do we have any early looks between these two? A rematch of the AFC Championship game.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see a somewhat similar game to what we saw last year opening when the Lions came out with a victory. People are going to say, oh, the Chiefs done. No, the Chiefs aren't done. That's never going to happen. So I don't mind taking the Ravens, them exacting a little bit of revenge. Maybe they cover, they keep it close, probably leaning with the under as well. I'll certainly be looking to Zay Flowers for a touchdown and Xavier Worthy getting on the board nice and early for the Chiefs. We know that Hollywood Brown is out, so Flowers at plus 195 for a touchdown, Worthy at plus 160, I think could be a nice way to start the season.
Nice. When you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, they have only been a home underdog 4 times since Patrick Mahomes took over as the starting quarterback in Arrowhead. They were a road underdog in Baltimore for the AFC Championship game last year and, of course, won outright. They won their 2nd consecutive Super Bowl, their 3rd Lombardi trophy in the last 5 seasons. Vecchio, as you look at the Ravens and the Chiefs and the overall outlook for 2024, big picture, 2 best prices to win the AFC in the AFC Championship game rematch from last year in the very first game of this year. If I gave you the option, would you bet on both of these teams being back in the AFC title game this year? Just one of the two or neither of the two, which would you wager on?
It would be one of the two, and that would be with the Chiefs. I think that is pretty easy to say. I think the Ravens are going to be in for a good season. I have a slight amount of interest in actually under 10.5 wins for them. I think them ending with 10 is very reasonable. They have the 4th toughest strength of schedule right now. So them making the playoffs, sure, lock that up. I think that's fine. Chiefs obviously winning their division. That's totally fine. Coming to the playoffs, though, the Ravens, if they don't have home field, maybe they don't win that division. Certainly going to be tough, but them having to face some combination of the Bills, the Dolphins, the Bengals, maybe the Jets, that's not going to be an easy road if they don't have a first-round bye. So I'll side with the Chiefs. I think I'll just play it safe with that one, as we've seen time and time again.
And by the way, we'll see a couple MVP candidates next Thursday night. But the NFL MVP award, otherwise known as the best quarterback in the NFL award, as follows: Mahomes, Allen, Stroud, Burrow, and Hurts. Are we seeing the top of this table here going to be able to take down an MVP? Or are there any long shots, Tom, that you might want to think about being a possible MVP candidate this season?
I think it likely comes from that top group. Maybe we can throw Love in there just as a little bit of a longer shot. He has a nice step forward, some really good surrounding pieces. A part of me wants to take Dak Prescott just because I want to see this revenge narrative. They didn't pay him. He has this monster season, but I ultimately can't trust the Dallas Cowboys to do basically anything right. So I don't want to trust Dak Prescott, but that number is certainly interesting along with a narrative, which I can get behind if push comes to shove.
A little bit of a prove-it year, perhaps. Jerry Jones telling the media yesterday, contract talks with Dak Prescott remain unchanged, which means no new deal being signed, which more than likely means Dak will enter 2024 under the final year of his contract at the Star. Now we go to another sport. That's the MLB Diamond on this Thursday. 2 really solid American League teams that we would consider contenders for the pennant at this moment. The Royals, a little bit unproven, but the Astros certainly that playoff pedigree. Houston, a home favorite today against KC. Vecchio, what's your play in H-Town?
That's going to be Brady Singer under 4.5 strikeouts. Singer a little bit of plus money. He's got a relatively modest 22.9% strikeout rate overall. Houston, right now, they are just getting more and more disciplined at the plate with their current active roster. They have a 17.7% strikeout rate versus righties. That is the second lowest in the league. Brady Singer doesn't go super deep in this into games overall. You guys spoke about that in the last segment. I am fully on board with the under in this one. Pure pitchers duel in this one. Not a whole lot of offense. Maybe a few hits here and there. I think there's going to be some pivotal big hits, but a true playoff type atmosphere. Give me Brady Singer under 4.5 strikeouts.
Let's take a look at the nightcap tonight. 10-10 start on the West Coast. Baltimore and Los Angeles. Povich versus Miller. Not the greatest pitching matchup overall. Total listed at 9, but a favorite for the Dodgers at minus 154. What's a good look here for that Dodgers-Baltimore game?
That's keeping it super simple with Mookie Betts for 2+ total bases. Cade Povich, I know he was a high prospect or a highly rated prospect for the Orioles, but not been good this year. 48 inning sample size, 389 WOBA allowed to righties, a 537 slugging allowed. So let's just take Mookie Betts at a little bit of plus money. Awesome versus lefties with a 150 WRC plus. He's got a 326 BABIP. He has a 6.7% strikeout rate versus lefties, which is insanely low. So he doesn't waste chances. We know that Freddie Freeman and Will Smith are going to be behind him. Otani will probably already be on base, so they can't pitch around Mookie. Super simple with Mookie for 2+ total bases tonight.
I like that look out in L.A. It's the rubber match between the Dodgers and the O's. Tom, in this final minute, it's the opening night in Philadelphia of a 4-game set between the Phillies and the Braves. A divisional duel, a significant series. Philly still has a 5-game lead for the top spot in the division, but the Braves have won 9 of their last 11, including a series victory at home last week over the Titans. Philly a home favorite tonight, total of 8.5. How does this series get started tonight at the bank?
It gets started with a lack of scoring. Both pitchers are medium contact ground ball pitchers, specifically Sanchez, like a very heavy medium contact pitcher, does not allow fly balls, does not allow a lot of hard contact. So super fun series, like especially in a weird time of baseball before we're actually at like the stretch run, but a pure lack of scoring tonight between this one, the Royals series as well. Good pitchers on the mound tonight. I think Morin's obviously a little bit worse. I'll take the Phillies winning the series. I'll take the Phillies winning tonight, but under 8.5 overall.
That's music to Donnie Right-Side's ears. Again, way to endear yourselves to your new coworkers. We appreciate you, Tom Vecchio. Thank you for being college football week 1 tonight. Next.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Carlos Alcaraz has won the last 2 Grand Slam titles at the French Open on the clay and at Wimbledon earlier this summer. He enters as the favorite.
You have a bunch of depth there. Francis Tiafoe, Ben Shelton. They will likely play in round 3. The winner would play Djokovic, most likely, which would be an incredible match. I like Ben Shelton as a sleeper. If Djokovic is hurt, you never know. I think Shelton could actually be the guy that gets hot. The conditions favor him.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
When you're really, really amazing like this, people kind of take it for granted. Same with Otani, right? People will sort of see, oh, Otani did this, Otani did that, and it sort of, becomes normalized a little bit. But to put in context, Aaron Judge joins the 1,000 hit club, reaches, gets it done. So earlier this month, he was the fastest player to reach 300 home runs ever.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
The leftover language would be the million shy of what Jefferson makes Jefferson a better player. If you want to believe that, I'm not sure I buy that he's that much better than CeeDee Lamb.
Tony Pollard's gone. He's now with the Titans. I was with the Titans a couple weeks ago. He'll be their starting running back there. They're going a different direction in Dallas, but it's all about CeeDee Lamb right now, the first of the other deals that they have to get done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Week 1 of the 2024 college football season starts tonight. 21 FBS games. It starts early, 6 p.m. Eastern time at Rutgers as the Scarlet Knights welcome in Howard. It goes late night, 10 p.m. Eastern time, out to San Jose as the Spartans of SJSU start a new era under Ken Niumatalolo, who, of course, was the longtime head coach of the Naval Academy against Sacramento State. Regardless of where you are watching, just enjoy on this Thursday. One of the marquee matchups of this Thursday night slate, DRS, is in Boulder, Colorado, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. It's the Buffs as a 9.5-point favorite against North Dakota State. The Bison, an absolute FCS powerhouse, a national champion in 2021, their 6th national title in the last decade of FCS college football. Even a down year last year, they made it to the semifinals. Even a down year in 2022, a runner-up finish nationally only behind South Dakota State, who is also darn good. Total at 59.5. This will get all of the attention. A national notoriety tonight. A game that Donnie Rightside has referred to as a referendum for Deion Sanders and CU entering year number 2. So how does it play out? What is the outcome tonight in Boulder?
Yeah, I do think Colorado handles it, but also we're still waiting to see, because I know when you have Sean Lewis as your offensive coordinator, you are going lightning fast, left and right, fast up and down. It's interesting to see if they're going to have that sort of tempo or maybe slow it down a bit. And I don't know all that much about North Dakota State, but from what you were telling me, is this a primarily running football team, North Dakota State? So,
brother.
Take a look.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, so 59.5, 60.5, depending on what that game is going to be. Now, I think maybe we might be trending, I'm going to say, toward an under at this point, as opposed to having one team trying to run 115 plays by themselves in Colorado, and maybe a team that just wants to slow the game tempo down and grind the clock just a little bit. Every point's going to matter. Maybe a 46.5, 47.5. You'd say, all right, that might not make a difference, but if we're talking around that 60 range here, you're going to need a lot of tempo, and if one team is going to have 12 or 13 play drives just to eat up maybe 5 or 6 minutes of the clock and kick a field goal, that could be key. And again, I don't know too much about, North Dakota State, but if we're talking about a running team, I might be leaning towards that under 60.5, 60 points here if it gets that high tonight.
Listen, the FCS program is North Dakota State. FBS teams are supposed to hammer FCS schools to start off a weekend, to open up with a cupcake and set optimism ahead for the rest of the season. This is not your run-of-the-mill FCS program. This is North Dakota State, the best FCS program we have seen the last 25 years. SDSU, the Jackrabbits of South Dakota State, might have something to say as of right now. Their last loss came against an FBS school, 7-3 against Iowa to start 2022, the two-time reigning national title winners, who will start this weekend against Oklahoma State. Again, a game I cannot believe is on the schedule for the Pokes. But regardless, our focus here. Donnie is correct in terms of how North Dakota State wants to anchor its offense. A new head coach for the Bison, Tim Polasek, who has been there as the offensive coordinator before, worked under Craig Boyle, followed Boyle to Wyoming, was the co-OC the last few years for the Cowboys. It is run heavy. Up front for North Dakota State, they return a lot of offensive line talent. On the defensive side of the football, same thing. Cam Miller, Cole Payton, the two quarterbacks for NDSU last year. That was the second and third leading rusher, respectively, both over 600 yards. In both Miller and Payton had 13 rushing scores a season ago. I can't find the props yet. Not sure if my FanDuel site is being janky on this Thursday morning, but I will look anytime TD props for both of the quarterbacks for NDSU. Now, Colorado has its talent as well. Two main concerns, DRS, for the Buffs. Can they protect Shedeur Sanders, who was sacked at least 3 times in all 10 of the games he played a season ago? Overall, CU gave up 56 sacks a season ago, second most in all of FBS college football. They went to the transfer portal to try to bolster the O-line. They brought in one of the best offensive line recruits in the country this year in Jordan Seaton. Is it enough? We shall see. And Colorado was poorest defensively. 4th worst power conference program in terms of scoring defense, giving up nearly 35 points per game a season ago, more than 176 yards on the ground. To me, that is the key tonight. The talent still is in Boulder. Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, everybody else a part of this mix. Dallin Hayden, the Ohio State transfer at the running back spot. Colorado should win this game. They're nearly a double-digit favorite, but it's not a 2-touchdown spread or beyond for a reason. It's a really difficult test to start off year number 2 for Coach Prime.
And also, you're trying to take a look at some of those spotlight positions. We always talk about Shedeur Sanders, but take a look at Travis Hunter. You know, going both ways here. You take a look at his prop here at the FanDuel Sportsbook, Ben, 73.5 for his receiving prop, and I think he's going to be able to challenge that. You take a look at Will Shepherd at 61.5 and Jimmy Horn at 42.5. If we're looking for those breakout performances, we know to start the season. Right. Shedeur absolutely wants to have a great game, but also the same thing with Travis Hunter. He should be a game breaker tonight. So if I'm looking, instead of buying low and saying Jimmy Horn at 42.5, which I actually think he has a chance to go over that, give me Travis Hunter, because I think we're going to be talking tomorrow morning, Ben, going, oh my goodness, did you see that game last night? How good Travis Hunter was, and a big part of that's going to be offensive as well.
So the props are now up for me as well. Fantastic. 304 to hook is the number 4, Shedeur Sanders. He threw for at least 348 yards in 4 of the first 5 games for CU last year. Sean Lewis was the OC then. Pat Shurmur down the home stretch. Only over 275 once in the final 6 games he played for the Buffs. Anyway, as we go elsewhere around college football, 4 ranked teams in action tonight. Number 11, Missouri. Number 12, Utah. Number 22, Kansas. Number 24, NC State. All against FCS foes. All hefty favorites. Donnie, any final picks before we send you into the money line for this first Thursday night of the college football season?
No, just going to be watching primarily there. I'm interested to see how Utah is going to do in that game. I think there's a chance that they could have a blowout. But again, both of those teams that we just saw in that graphic should have easy blowout victories tonight. But the focus of the college football world certainly will be in Colorado tonight, and we will all be watching that.
And we will react to it on a football Friday. And tomorrow is the first true football Friday of the year. And then we add in the NFL the very next week. DRS, enjoy the money line. We'll talk tomorrow. Some more college football leads for this opening Thursday next.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Carlos Alcaraz has won the last 2 Grand Slam titles at the French Open on the clay and at Wimbledon earlier this summer. He enters as the favorite.
You have a bunch of depth there. Francis Tiafoe, Ben Shelton. They will likely play in round 3. The winner would play Djokovic, most likely, which would be an incredible match. I like Ben Shelton as a sleeper. If Djokovic is hurt, you never know. I think Shelton could actually be the guy that gets hot. The conditions favor him.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
When you're really, really amazing like this, people kind of take it for granted. Same with Otani, right? People will sort of see, oh, Otani did this, Otani did that, and it sort of, becomes normalized a little bit. But to put in context, Aaron Judge joins the 1,000 hit club, reaches, gets it done. So earlier this month, he was the fastest player to reach 300 home runs ever.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
The leftover language would be the million shy of what Jefferson makes Jefferson a better player. If you want to believe that, I'm not sure I buy that he's that much better than CeeDee Lamb.
Tony Pollard's gone. He's now with the Titans. I was with the Titans a couple weeks ago. He'll be their starting running back there. They're going a different direction in Dallas, but it's all about CeeDee Lamb right now, the first of the other deals that they have to get done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Week number 1 of the 2024 college football season kicks off tonight. If I sound like a broken record, get used to it. 21 FBS games on this Thursday evening. Plenty more beyond that. College football is here. And there's some really great games tonight. A lot of FBS versus FCS schools. We've got 4 ranked programs in action in the AP Top 25. Keep an eye on Kansas, 22nd in the country, ranked in the preseason AP poll for the first time since 2009 in a dynamic backfield for KU. Jalen Daniels back as the quarterback, Devin Neal alongside. Donnie mentioned Utah against Southern Utah. Cam Rising back for his 7th year of college football. If you could go to college for 7 years, you would as well. He did not play in 2023 after tearing his ACL to end out the 2022 season in the Rose Bowl defeat to Penn State. But he is back for the Utes this year, the preseason favorites to win the Big 12. Let's get to some other games tonight. One of the few FBS versus FBS program games that we have. It's Minnesota and North Carolina. They played each other early in the non-conference slate a season ago. Drake May was the quarterback for UNC, threw for more than 400 yards, and the Tar Heels won 31-13 in Chapel Hill, covering easily as a 6.5-point favorite. Tonight, it's Minnesota at home in the Twin Cities. The Gophers a 1.5-point home underdog. 2 defenses that have 2 new defensive coordinators that need to figure things out. Minnesota was a top 5 scoring defense in the country in 2022. One of the 10 best passing defenses in the country as well. Not the case a season ago. Joe Rossi is no longer there. He's the DC in East Lansing at Michigan State. Corey Hefferman takes over as the defensive coordinator, entering year number 8 of the PJ Fleck era in Minneapolis. And plenty of new faces for Minnesota as well. Max Brosmer, transferring up from the FCS level at New Hampshire, is now the starting quarterback. His prop tonight, 187 and a hook. But disregard the aerial attack, at least for Minnesota. On the other side for North Carolina, Max Johnson, the Texas A&M via LSU transfer, more than likely gets the start tonight for UNC. We might see a couple of quarterbacks, though, for the Tar Heels. It's a focus on the running backs. For UNC, Omarion Hampton, the 5th leading rusher a season ago, more than 1,500 yards on the ground, is back for the Tar Heels. His rushing yards prop against the Minnesota defense that was 3rd worst in the Big Ten a year ago, allowing more than 154 yards per game, is back. He should have a big night. His prop for this football game, 95.5. But my focus is on Darius Taylor. 72 and a hook is the number for the true sophomore for the Golden Gophers. A limited sample size last year, only 6 games. And in one of them, the season opener against Nebraska, he got a single carry. In the other, he went up against Iowa, one of the 5 best defenses in the country a season ago. In the 4 others, Darius Taylor ran for at least 138 yards, and that includes against North Carolina. 22 carries for $138 on the ground and a rushing score. UNC gave up 163 yards on the ground a season ago. New defensive coordinator, Jeff Collins, former head coach at Georgia Tech. Before that, most notably, was the defensive coordinator at Florida and Mississippi State. In his 3 years in the SEC, well, 4 in total, but 2014 Mississippi State, 2015 and 16 Florida, his defenses allowed less than 20 points per game, but did give up a little bit on the ground. I think you're getting a discount on Darius Taylor's rushing yards prop of 72 and a hook. They also have a transfer from the MAC. That's C.A. Bangora, who is there now for Minnesota, should factor into the backfield as well, so Taylor doesn't have to carry it 30 times per game. But focus on the ground game. If UNC is better defensively, this could be an interesting year for Mac Brown, one of 3 active head coaches in college football with a national championship to his name. A couple of other Big Ten schools in action tonight. Illinois, hefty favorite against Eastern Illinois, nearly a 4-touchdown spread. Year number 3 under Burt, that's Brett Bielema. Rutgers and Greg Schiano, a win total of 6.5. The Scarlet Knights looking to go over that number in the regular season for the first time since 2014. The defense leads the way, and Kyle Monangai is back, the Big Ten running back of the year from a season ago. Keep an eye on the total or a Howard team total under tonight in Piscataway. It's the first game of the night with 21 in store on this Thursday. We recap everything on a Football Friday when the early line returns tomorrow at 8 a.m. Eastern.